Okay, so we're going to go through some of these today, and we're recording obviously for Mr. Behringer, for any of you guys for later. If
Hi,
you
Adam.
I love you.
Hi, Adam.
Happy Valentine's Day. Feel better soon. Okay, I can identify an ATA, PATA, or IDA hard drive. They're all the same thing. On the test, online, anywhere you're going to see them referred to the same thing. Okay, the cable that connects these are called IDE cables. They used to be called IDE hard drives. Okay, we call them IDE or ATA. Nobody called them PATA because there was no such thing as SATA, so there's no reason to differentiate. So now, if you see anything, you're going to see it as either ATA or PATA or IDE hard drives. Okay,
they're all the same thing.
They're all the same thing. The P stands for
Parallel.
parallel,
Yes.
but for you to differentiate and remember, use it as pins. Okay, the one with the pins is the IDE hard drive. Okay, or the parallel ATA hard drive. It has how many pins?
40.
40.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it doesn't have 40. It has 40 wires, but there's one pin missing. If you look right there, there's always a pin missing.
39.
There's really 39 wires or 39 pins on the end of it because there's one missing. Okay, on the end of it. So if I'm looking at the cable, Austin, if I'm looking at a cable, how do I know which side is the number 1 wire and which side is the number 40 wire if I'm looking at the cable? Thank you, Austin.
Yeah.
Which one? What color? What is he talking about? The one with the red line. Sometimes it's a blue line, sometimes it's a dash line, but the one that has a side that looks differently is the one, that's the one. Okay? Sometimes it's marked with a little hash mark or like a little arrow greater than symbol where that, didn't I just retie this? Seems like I just tied it.
Well, you smashed your hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at the wire, that's what you want to look for. When I'm looking at my motherboard, you're going to see a 0. You're also going to see a notch. See the little notch out? But don't live by the notch out. See that little thing right there at the top of it?
Yep.
Because some of them don't have that. And if I put this in the wrong way, are there 40 holes in the bottom of that? No, there's one spot where there isn't a hole. And if I was to put it in upside down, which I could do even with the little notch thing, if I pushed hard enough, what would I do to this hard drive? I would either bend the pen or actually shove it into the electronics. I would ruin it. Okay?
Ruin it.
So you really want to look. Where's the pin block out? Where's the missing pin?
That
It
doesn't-
goes this way. In this case, it has a little notch right there. See the little notch? And that goes with this. And if I looked at the bottom and I looked real hard, I'd see it says right here, actually says the number 2 on this side, it says the number 40 on that side. The reason it says it number 2 instead of number 1, because the top one's number 1, the bottom one's number 2, so it shows number 2, and that means the red wire goes on that side. Okay? When I said the little arrow, see the little arrow right there? Okay, that's also what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
When I said it, that will also mark it. See the little tiny arrow right there, and there's a big one right there. Okay. So those are the way we look at it. Now, when we're talking about parallel ATA hard drives, how many things can connect to one cable?
2.
2. No more than 2 things. Not all cables can connect 2.
Can you move?
How many can connect to this one?
1.
1. There's no other spot, okay? So there are cables that only connect 1. There are cables that connect 2. Okay? Okay? Yes?
Can you move the ribbon?
No, this doesn't slide or anything like that. Some are right there. Where they're at is where they're at. Some of them are much wider, set apart, like this one. Okay? This cable is made for 2 hard drives that are sitting right next to each other.
Well, that's
Really
kind of
hard
dumb.
to use this one to hook up a CD-ROM and a hard drive together. Could you hook up a CD-ROM and a hard drive on the same ID cable?
Yes.
Yes. Should you hook up a hard drive and a CD-ROM on the same hard drive cable?
No.
No, you shouldn't. For the best performance, you would put hard drives on one and you put CD-ROMs on the other. Okay? That would be the best performance. Okay? So you can physically hook them up, but it's not a really good idea. You get the best performance out of having them in separate cables. So what's the deal with the master-slave thing? I know I talked about it extensively. It's the one thing that people screw up the most. When you have a final exam computer, I guarantee you somebody in this room is going to have one where they're both set as master.
False.
Okay? Will they work if they're both set as master?
No.
No.
One needs to be the slave.
Somebody's got to be in charge of this cable. Somebody gets the data sent first and somebody's second. Okay? Somebody's in charge. If both people are in charge or both people aren't in charge, i.e. both are master or both are slave, nobody gets to use the cable. Will not work. Some cases it won't even see that there's a hard drive connected. Some cases they just won't work correctly. Okay, so you have to have them set up right. So there's four ways to set up my hard drive, okay? Give me one of them. One jumper way. I can set it up as the
You put sideways where it's not. Or the
I'm
CS.
looking for CS, which stands for?
Cable select.
Okay, so one way is I can set it up as cable select. One way is I can set it up as master. One way I can set it up as
Slave.
slave, and the last way I can set it up is
Single master.
single. Okay? And single only usually applies to what company's hard drives? There's one company that uses single.
Oh,
Seagate.
or wait.
Asus.
Western Digital. Western
Western
Digital
Digital.
hard drives like not all of them do it. So you got to read the hard drive label. Okay, this Western Digital hard drive does. If I look at this one, the way it's set up is no jumper is single. To connect the pin between pins number 5 and 6 is master, 3 and 4 is slave, and 1 and 2 is cable select. Now, do I really need to know the pins? No, because on the bottom of it, it says MA, SL, and SL and CS. It's really hard to read. I mean, see how small that is right there. It's not super easy to read. And I need to take that jumper, and the jumper is set to what right now? Yeah, what's it set to?
How would you do this?
Okay, no.
I didn't take because I have no idea honestly
That's
because I have
CS.
none of this
Cable select,
sits
okay?
needed.
So you have to set the jumper in one of those ways, period. It has to be set somehow. Now, no jumper on this one means single, so that is actually setting the jumper. And this means it's set, if I move it sideways, it's just holding it in place.
You don't have to do that with SATAs, right?
We'll
SATAs
get
don't
to that.
have
We're
jumper.
talking about PATAs right now.
SATAs don't.
But I promise you we'll get to it, okay? And the answer is no, you don't have to. Jumpers are really for IDE drives. And you have to have them set up right. In general, every student computer in the school has a IDE drive. In general. Not all of them, but most of them. In general, all teacher computers have a SATA drive. Not all of them, but in general. Okay? SATA is way faster. The first SATA was twice as fast. Now we're up to like 5 times faster. Okay? SATA is better. I have to do all this stuff on a PATA. Let's finish talking about PATA. Okay? So I've got really different ways to either make it master or slave. I've got 4 ways to make it master or slave. Single is making it master of its own domain. There's nobody else there. Okay? So in slave, now I've got cable select. If I do cable select, what is it right now?
Single. Master.
It's master. Because cable select, the one on the end, is master. I put it on cable select, it's right here, it's slave.
If you put it on slave, it's the only one on that.
If you put it on slave and it's the only one on that, usually it will still work. Okay? But you have to tell it in BIOS, like in this one, in this PC right here, I say what channel's on. So I have to say whether master or slave is on. So if I set it up that way, as the only one in the slave, I have to make sure I tell it the slave is on and the master is off. Normally not the best practice in the world. And Miss Keys, who just got a CD-ROM put in that we know works perfectly fine because we tested it back here, and they went in and installed it, is probably got that problem. They left it on cable select, and they didn't check whether it was on master or slave cable, and so now she's not working. So she has a perfectly good DVD in her drive, but it doesn't work at all because either the jumpers were set wrong or the BIOS was set wrong, but it doesn't know there's a CD-ROM in there. Okay, so, and I guarantee you this is going to happen on your tests. 1/3 of the people in the room will have a hard drive problem, and of them, maybe half of them, so that makes one of you, will have a jumper problem that is causing the issue, whether they're both set the same, or whether the jumper's just set wrong, whatever it is, okay? So somebody will have that problem. We need to know how to do it, because the last thing I want to do is send out Mr. Hapner to to go replace a hard drive, say go put this in, and then I gotta run down there, just like I have to do with Miss Keys right now, because we just didn't pay any attention to a very, very basic thing that I know on the videos, it sounds like I was harping on it, I am, it's a stupid thing to screw up.
That's easy to screw up.
It's easy to screw up, it's easy, it's a little tiny jumper, okay? But it happens all the time, which is why whenever we put in a new hard drive or a CD-ROM, we test it before we walk away. Now, the hard drive is an obvious test. Did the operating system come up? It's working, okay? But if I do a CD-ROM, the operating system comes up, oh, you know what? I gotta look to see if there is a D drive. I gotta actually put something in it and try to play it. If I just stick it in and walk away and push the power button, you know, when I do this, am I testing the CD-ROM? Am I testing it? It came open. Is it tested? Do I know it works? All I know is I got power to it. This does not have to be connected to make the CD-ROM open when I push the front of it. Only the power plug does, okay? So whenever you do stuff like that, make sure you test it thoroughly so we don't have to go back. Okay, enough on PATA drives. They're slower. If you've got a PATA drive in your computer at home, and you can get an SATA drive for 40 or 50 bucks, and you want to speed up your computer, you probably would. What are the two things I can easily replace from my PC to speed it up?
RAM and hard drive.
RAM and a hard drive, okay? A CPU is not easy to do, okay?
It's expensive.
It's more expensive. And a lot of times, like these right here, these are perfectly good PCs. I can put 4 gig in those. But if all of these, by the way, have IDE hard drives, but they also have 2 spots for SATA hard drives. So if we bought a bunch of SATA hard drives, we could usually replace them on those. Hard drives now 2 to 5 times faster. Is it going to run faster? You betcha. Okay. So if I have an SATA, which I have one sitting in front of me somewhere, they hook up much easier. Is there a jumper on here? Yes. Do I ever even mess with the jumpers on here? Absolutely not. Just leave them alone. There's one cable that has a little notch on one side that I have to look at because it only goes in one way. Only one thing that can connect up to an SATA, and it plugs directly into the motherboard.
Why is there a jumper that you need for it?
I couldn't even tell you. I'm sure I could do something with it, but I don't know what. I'd have to look it up. That's why I don't mess with the jumpers on the SATAs. Okay, it says on the bottom, PW2, option 1, and FW. I don't know. Don't mess with it.
Well, you should know that, man.
Okay, oh, and let me talk about one other thing. On the IDE cables, first of all, what's the maximum number of IDE connections that can be on a motherboard? Mr. Eversole, close that up.
4.
Close that up.
You fool!
Okay. What's the maximum number of connections that can be on the motherboard? On the motherboard. 2. So the maximum number of things that can have on IDEs is 4. Okay. That doesn't mean there always is 2. This one right here, this nice new one that I've got right here, has 0. There are no IDE connections. There's still a floppy drive connector, but there's no IDE connectors. There's 8 SATA connectors. Okay? So last thing on these. If there's 2, there's one that's primary and one that's secondary. And on this motherboard it says IDE Pri and IDE Sec. Sometimes they say IDE 0 and IDE 1. Okay? The hard drive, the operating system, goes on the primary channel and should be the master on the primary. On the secondary channel right here, I would have the CD-ROM, and I would have it be the master secondary channel. Okay? If I had 4 things, then I want the hard drives together and the CD-ROMs together. Okay? When it comes to SATAs, same thing. These are numbered. They say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes they start at 1. I want the master hard drive on the lowest number.
0.
It starts at 0. I'm going to plug it into 0. Okay? The power connectors are different on the 2. This is a standard power connector for an IDE drive. For an SATA drive,
What's the point of that?
where did I put it at? I have an adapter. I have it right in front of me. First block.
What are you looking for?
It's still 12 volts, but it's not a standard Bolex adapter. But for $1 on eBay, if your power supply doesn't have the connectors, you can buy a little adapter that plugs into here. and then lets you plug it in to your new
What's the
SATA
point of that,
hard drive.
like, mad?
So if you, why did they change it? Some actually have both. There are drives that have this connector and this connector. You don't plug them both in. It's an either or thing. Okay, I've had students plug them both in. You don't plug them both in. It's just so you can use whatever kind of connector your power supply has. So a 1 terabyte hard drive, 1 terabyte, 1,000 gigabytes.
That's nothing.
Okay. Now it's only $100. Okay, it's $100. So you can get a nice one for 40 or 50 bucks and upgrade your computer to a much faster one. And they usually come with software that copies everything over for you, and then you take your old ID whenever. Okay. So I've got SATA, I got PATA. We understand the relationship. As far as installing them, you just need to make sure you check the dump jumpers, you put it on the right cable. Yeah.
What if Windows is on the hard drive that you're gonna switch?
Even the software that comes with it will usually migrate everything over. If you buy a new SAT or a new Seagate hard drive that's an SATA, it usually comes with a CD-ROM. You can both up, you run their CD-ROM, and it will move everything over to the new Seagate drive, including the operating system, everything, and then you just take out the other drive and it'll boot to your new.
Would that make my boot faster?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I did the exact same thing last week on Thursday. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so that's, and SATA is even easier to install. So before we go on, so I've got these drives. How fast does a home drive spin? This is definitely a toast.
5,000,
5,900.
5,000.
5,400. 5,400 revolutions per minute. That's how fast it goes. If it's going, the faster it goes, obviously the faster I can get to the information too. Okay? That's a normal home one. That's a normal laptop drive. They used to even be slower for laptops, down 4,200, but most of them are 5,400 down. Now a gamer system, or at least a server, higher end hard drive spins at 7,200. Okay, 7,200 RPM. It's obviously faster. It's a 30% increase in speed. And then if you go to a server drive, pure server drive, we're looking at 10,000 and really up to 15,000 RPM.
Don't drop it.
The problem with that speed is they're very, very volatile. You could not put a 10,000 RPM into a laptop, you'd be crazy. Okay? And that's the thing. Laptops are not actually meant to be moved while running. They are a portable computer, which means you turn it off, you let it stop spinning, you move it somewhere else and you turn it on. Okay? If this thing is spinning at, let me pick my cheapest one, if this thing is spinning at 7,200 RPM, and I move the laptop and I set it down like that, and it's spinning that fast, you can easily just ruin it. Okay? Because it torques really easy. You know, it's metal, but it can still bend. Okay? So
don't break.
most of the time, yeah, and it doesn't take much bending because there's a fraction of a millimeter clearance between the head and that spinning disc. They are so close. You know, it reads magnetically, but it's not like it can read from way over here. It is right, just barely not touching that disc. And just flexing a little, if it hits the head, can ruin your hard drive.
State doesn't have to
We're going to talk about it next. So be careful with your hard drives. Make sure your laptop's off. If you're grabbing one of the netbooks and it's on, first of all, you shouldn't be walking around with it on. And how many times do you grab one out of the netbook cart and you go back over to your desk and you open it up and find out it was already on? So don't drop it on your desk and assume it was off. Set it down gently and assume it was on, because a lot of the time what they do, they hit the power button, and then they close the lid, and it goes, look, I'm not shutting off now. Because it will not finish the shutdown sequence when you close the lid.
Silly Billy, just put me
Okay.
in mode.
So,
That's what it's saying.
be careful with them. They are, you can store way more data on a disk drive now than we can on solid state. So that was the next one. So this is a solid state drive. There's no moving parts. These are both laptop drives. Okay. They're both PAT or SATA connectors on this laptop drive. Okay, this one is 10 times faster as far as accessing data. The cable speed is still the same, but a lot of times we're not waiting on the data to come from the hard drive. We're waiting for this seeker head to go and get to the data, to find the data, to send it to the cable. And it's not my school laptop that I use. Okay, it took 2 minutes and 45 seconds before I was logged on and ready to go to use anything. After I put this in, it was 39 seconds between when I pushed the button and I was logged on and could start using it. That's a substantial difference. Okay, it's a big difference in speed. Okay, so if I switched, I had a 120 gig hard drive, and I swapped it down to a 60 gig, but I wasn't using it all anyways, and I'd rather have the speed. Plus, it's my laptop. I don't care. I can set it down as rough as I want, within reason, not breaking the laptop, right? But there's nothing moving in here. This also uses way less power. There's no motor in here spinning anything. It's just memory. There's a downside. Limited number of writes and reads. However, am I going to outuse that within 5 years? No. Am I going to have a different one within 5 years? Yes. Okay? They don't all have the same limitations though. A really, really high-end one, I just bought a 500 gig one for that computer. It's SSD. Okay? There's different technologies of writing. It will work better, and it will work longer, and it should make Moodle just scream. Hopefully.
When are you
Okay.
gonna hook that up?
Listen, I can't. I'm not gonna just migrate Moodle willy-nilly. I do an install and I test, and it'll be running next year.
Moodle's so slow.
Moodle will be on next year. It might even be on sooner than that. I will tell you that I've been waiting for that hard drive to come in.
Came in.
Why is it not here? And I went on Newegg to check, and I never completed the order, so I reordered it again today.
How much did it cost?
Only like
500
$20.
gigs?
500 gigs costs $519. It's like $1 a gig. Whereas a terabyte costs $100. So it's more expensive for an SSD drive. However, it is way faster. They also make hybrid ones that are part SSD, part disk drive, but I think that kind of, it's a little bit less expensive, but it seems kind of stupid. So, I mean,
How would
either
you
go
know?
SSD or don't.
How would you know if it's installing on the SSD or the
Well, in this case, I'm only gonna have
like
SSD.
it's a hybrid though?
Oh, no, it determines what it thinks is being accessed more, and it moves the things that are being accessed
Oh.
more to the SSD. So it tries to put the operating system on the SSD, so that basically what you do with the hybrid one is it boots way faster, but it doesn't get your gains any faster. It doesn't get your data any faster. It's just got the operating system on the SSD.
That's dumb.
So that's an SSD drive, solid state drive. It is all memory, and they'd come way down. This would have been $300. This was $60. $60 for 60 gig. It's about what? Yeah,
No,
it's about $1 a gig. What?
That would work with any SATA port?
Yes, and they make enclosures to make these. They make little $5 boxes that you put this in, make it that size, so you can put it in a PC as well. Okay, a lot of them come with them. This one did not come with one.
I would have been pissed.
But, huh?
I would have been so mad.
Well, I got them for laptops to upgrade the administrator's laptops, so that because I keep reformatting them because they're carrying them around all the time.
How many
Mr.
apples?
Fisher is walking around doing evaluations with this laptop
Why do you have the lab there?
because I want to upgrade this whole thing and get this working better. I'm actually, well, that's one of my things. I'm going to try one of these
And
in
one
one
of
of those and see if it makes it, if it refurbs it enough that. And I haven't opened it up yet. See, because I tried Ubuntu on the drives that are in there, and it doesn't do anything for me. But if I put an SSD and put a gig of RAM in them, maybe I've got a brand new laptop.
Do
We'll
those
see.
laptops suck?
They do suck right now. I know. But you know what's crazy though is that well these are the
No, the black
Dells.
ones.
These aren't those black ones
Oh, that's
that
a little black.
that were originally in there. These it's crazy because these seemed awesome. When I got here 8 years ago, these didn't seem that bad. And I upgraded the memory and cut the boot time down. You know how long these used to take when I first got here to boot?
So it takes an hour back.
10 minutes to boot. And we doubled the memory and it cut it down to 5, and we thought that was awesome. Most students only have to wait 5 minutes to get on their thing. 5 minutes is huge now.
Oh, I'd be peeved.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What you guys don't realize, it's not like it's gotten slower. We've gotten so much faster. We're used to instantaneous. You guys turn on your tablets, you're online within 30 seconds. You spend more time trying to find the web page than it takes for the device to come
No,
on.
it takes longer for me to wait or close.
To even
my
pull up the
browser.
Well,
internet.
part of that is you're not making shortcuts on your desktop straight to
No,
your
I'm talking
classes
about-
and stuff. I know, but you should make
No, I
shortcuts.
bring
right
up
now.
browser and it's like, would you like to wait or close?
Oh, I know, it does that every third.
Mine,
Yeah, it's
mine
crashed or
never does
whatever.
this because you added crap to it again.
I don't have it. It still does.
Alright, what browser are you using?
Browser.
The stock one that's on there?
What browser are you using? I got rid of it.
Bribery flashed yours? With the new operating system stuff?
Alright, Mr. Poole.
Okay, so let's not get off topic because
Hold on,
we
hold on.
still got a few
If I
minutes
give you
left.
my tablet, would you flash it and repair the screen?
Yeah, repair mine too.
You gotta turn it in at the office if you need a new LCD.
Okay, then I don't want it. Just flash it.
And it wouldn't be done until tomorrow. You don't want to turn it in now because it wouldn't be done until the next brown meeting.
Okay, then forget that.
So, but I mean, I could flash it right now.
There you go.
Stupid.
Okay, so basically next class. Oh, we're gonna talk about drive defragmentation and how to correct it. And you know, it really does
We
make a
already
huge
did it.
difference. This is my drive, and I haven't started defragmenting it, but it needs to be defragmented. I'm gonna go ahead and yes.
So red is bad.
Red is bad, okay, and this defraggler really is better because of the reasons I went over in the video. If you
How-
paid
do you have it on the
attention.
disc?
What?
Do you have it on the disc or can we just?
Defraggler is a free download.
I know,
Type in
but
defraggler and you can download it.
It's.
Can you get it from CNET?
I'm not listening to Clint Campbell for
I think it's on File Hippo, actually, is what it's on. But anyway, so the red is bad. It means those files are sent all over the place. And just to make sure you understand defragmentation, here's a little example of what I mean by defragmentation. Okay,
Dude, do you have a
if I
time?
tell both these guys to read chapter 3, but Austin gets the book, and I take Cody's and I rip out chapter 3 and I hide the pages all over the room, they may be able to read at the same speed, but it's going to take Cody a heck of a lot longer because he's going to run around the room, find the next page, and then read it, and then find the next page. And that's what your hard drive is doing. What?
You jokester.
That's what the hard drive is doing when stuff is fragmented. And I talked about on the video about how bad it was when I was a programmer at GPL. I mean, literally they were starting the bills one day, and they're still printing out the next day. Something that took an hour when we first wrote the program. All they had to do is defragment, and then it just started going doop, 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 doop. Because they were sitting there, and there was one page coming out every 10 minutes. It was just going good. Good. And the worst thing about it is that person was getting paid more than me.
And a printer like that.
I would've
The old
thought
it was
HP
running.
printers or whatever.
It wasn't the printer though; it's the program and the
I know,
data.
but
So this is and I guess you have to be an administrator to run this on your PC, but they are set to run automatically on the student PCs.
But
Whether or not they get turned off before they run or not, I don't know. Okay, 'cause
But
that
would it
could
run
be
it
one of
if
the
you're not
factors.
logged in?
Yeah, it's made to run it because you can schedule tasks to run
Okay.
So as
as
long
the
as
administrator
as
without
long as
being
it's
there.
turned on, then it runs it.
Don't
Should.
all the computers turn off like 10 o'clock?
How often
Yes.
should you do it?
Different times. How often?
Yeah.
Whenever it's really fragmented. I do mine at home every week. I have it run on Saturday nights.
I'm about to
at
change that one in
midnight.
there. It's up in BIOS, isn't it?
What?
Like when they turn off. If I'll be here, I'll be like, oh, it's not really good. It's shutting down and lit.
That's not in BIOS.
Oh,
You can't change it.
Stupid.
So it's a scheduled task that's set up as the administrator running. So why you hear that late at night?
Because
anyway?
his dad.
My dad's always here. Like my dad will be at like 11.
Yeah,
his
no.
dad lives here.
Your dad lives here.
He
Like-
does.
Like there's days I come in for practice, early practice, and your dad's just like sitting there in his room. I was like, "How long you been here?" He's like, 3 o'clock.
Right.
Okay, so anyway,
I got here at 3.
what are you doing, Adams?
Nothing.
Close it.
He's watching porn.
Okay, so next class we're gonna use the Ultimate Boot CD next class to show you the different hard drive testing tools.
Same that was
And it's just now it's gotta reboot. Put it on next. So does anybody have any questions on the lesson so far?
No.
Any comments or feedback on the lessons that you guys did?
Nope.
No, not at all.
That was an amazing lesson.
It was long.
Very
but-
well put together.
Yeah.
It was long.
Would you guys? I mean, I can't cut down the length of the video. Okay, but would it be better to chop the video up so you watch 5 minutes and answer a
No,
couple questions?
no.
Or would it be better to watch all the video at
Wait,
one
wait.
time?
Just
It would be better
Yes,
just
chop
to
it up.
like
It'd be
skim
better
through
to
the
chop it
video,
up.
find the answer,